Thank you, Junior Choir. That was wonderful. Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Church. On this morning, it is our unique pleasure, privilege, and honor to welcome young children in a ceremony called child dedication. We essentially welcome them to the world. It represents a time when all of us have an opportunity to reflect deeply about the ongoing process of life, one generation inevitably giving way to the next. And of course, we consider with great urgency and poignancy what our responsibilities are to the new generation and generations who continue to make their way upon this fragile planet of ours. I want to begin the service actually with some words by the poet Goethe, words that will be echoed in our opening hymn. Goethe said there are only two lasting bequests we can hope to give our children. One of these is roots, the other wings. Symbol of light and of knowledge, symbol of warmth and freedom. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love. So may we open our service turning our hymn books, please, to number 123, where we get to sing about roots and wings, Spirit of Life. Let's get to meet some of the new additions to not only our congregation, but to life and to this world. I'd like to ask Eloise and Susanna to please come forward and bring whoever you want to bring with you. So bring them on down here. Matthew, come on down with folks. Why don't you just kind of step over here just a little bit for now. Larissa, is Larissa here? All right. Zoe, come on down. Okay. And Farron Rose, please come down. Well, it is wonderful to have you gathered here, and our junior choir, they've got a special song just for you. I want to thank you kids very much for being here this morning for this special little ritual that we like to do. And it's really all about getting to know you and you and you and hoping that you like us. That's so very, very important. And of course, what we didn't tell you was that before this ritual is over, all the kids need to sign a contract that they will join the junior choir as soon as they are old enough to sing. Okay, that's just part of the deal. It is so splendid to welcome you to this crazy world, isn't it? It is kind of a crazy world. And we do this, of course, in the springtime when we are reminded of new growth. We're reminded of new beginnings. We're reminded of life being regenerated. And this is how we feel about you. There's so much wonder in the expression of new life. And it is a wonder, I can guarantee all you little people, that it is a wonder that your parents will never, ever forget when you came into this world. It is just a very special and wonderful moment. And we like to do this ritual in what we say in a community, in our church, because we want you to know that in addition to your wonderful family, and hopefully an extended family as well, we are here to support you, to love you, to nurture you, and always want you to know that as you grow up, there's no such thing as having too many friends in life. And you've always got friends right here. You're going to have kids your own age. You're going to have adults who will be very happy to sit down and listen and support you. And you got to know that all these people really care a whole lot for you. It's kind of really, really important. And what you do for us, that's amazing, because sometimes when you get older, you get a little pessimistic about things. You look out, you read the newspaper, and then you go, gee, why I should just be listening to music. This newspaper depresses me. And so you think about all the things that they're forecasting that will go awry, all the wars, the things that we're doing, the damage to the earth. And we think, hey, we're up there in years, and when these things really happen, we'll be gone. But then we see you. We see all of you, and you spark in us a real sense of urgency that we cannot simply let the world slip away. We have to do our best to help prepare a world of peace and a world that really cares about the sustainability of this earth and a world where people are really kind to each other. And you are absolutely pivotal in not only as you grow up working for a better world, but in reminding us that we have a lot of work to do because of you. So I'd like to ask you now, would you please officially name your child?
Larissa Pearl Wood.
Okay. With love and tenderness, you are named Larissa Pearl Wood, and may blessings be upon you and your family. Your parents have said that you have a song in your heart. Is that true? Do you have a song right here in your heart? And a fire in your spirit. Yeah. I tell you, we need people who have a fiery spirit. And so it is just really wonderful to welcome you here to this church and to the world. Thank you. Would you please name your child?
This is Matthew Peter Esco.
Okay. With love and tenderness, you are named Matthew Peter Esco. May blessings be upon you and your family. Yeah, I know. It's a moment. It's absolutely a moment. You have a reputation of loving people. Yeah. Like this guy. You love this guy. And I hear that you really love your sister Gracie. She is really, really important to you. Yeah. And you have an infectious laughter. And it seems like you always want to be in the middle of whatever is going on.
sounds like you might be a minister. They always want to be in the middle of whatever's going on. Yeah. Good to have you with us, Matthew. Yeah. Will you please name your children?
This is Eloise June Fuller.
Okay. With love and tenderness, you are named Eloise June Fuller. May the blessings of life be upon you and your family. And I understand that you love adventure. Oh, you love adventure? Yeah. And you like spending time outside in nature. All right? What do you do with it? Do you smell the flowers? Yeah. Do you walk in the woods? That's wonderful. Good that you are here. And I hope you influence other children to enjoy nature as much as you do. That'll be great. Hi there. Will you please name this child? With love and tenderness, you are named Susanna Casey Fuller. And looking at you, you'd never guess it, but people say that you are tenacious. Are you? Well, yeah, I guess, you do, yeah. You are tenacious, I can tell. And you like to showcase any of your new skills to anyone who will watch. That sounds great. So you have to be tenacious in making sure people see what you're about to offer them. Yeah, that's great. Susanna, welcome. Welcome to this world. And would you please name your child?
Zoe Kahlo Gomes Evans.
With love and tenderness, you are named Zoe Kahlo Gomes Evans. May blessings be upon you and your family. And I understand that you, and I could tell by your holding your mom, you are a very caring young lady. You love your family, your garden, and you have to tell me, is this true? Do you have chickens? Do you love your chickens? Yeah. Do you have a lot of chickens? Okay. Do you collect eggs from those chickens? Okay, great. Those are your chores. Wonderful. Great. And can you please name your child? Wait a minute. Here we go. With love and tenderness, you are named Farron Rose Moore, and you love hugs, you love making art, and you love sharing stories. You like stories, Farron? Do you like stories? Okay. Great, great. Now, I've got kind of a story for you. Let me tell you. Excuse me, put this down for a second. Whoops. We don't need that's fine. I'll be really careful. This is the story about why we hand out roses at this ceremony. Be careful. Can you hold this? Be careful, though, because there are thorns on there. Yeah. Great. We have one for you. Oops. Be careful. And we have a rose for you. And we have a rose for you. And we have a rose for you. Careful, yeah, okay. We don't have one for your chickens, however. And we have a rose for you. Great. And the reason that we hand out these roses is they're just so symbolic of so many things. They're symbolic of beauty. They are symbolic of words that go, we love you. And, you know, it sounds, we're kind of self-conscious instead of saying, we love you. We just hand you a rose. It seems so much easier that way. And the rose is also a reminder of just how beautiful, yeah, Matthew, you love that rose, how beautiful life is and how we want to grab that, all of life's beauty. We just want to grab that, yeah. Yeah, but you know, the reason I asked you all to be so careful is that along the stem are thorns. And so often as we reach for all that which is so pretty and beautiful, we may get cut and scraped and bumped along the way. So this is a reminder that, yes, life is as beautiful as that rosebud, and yet it's also pretty tricky because it's easy to get scraped along the way. And that's why you're also fortunate to be in loving families. how wonderful it is to be held just in case you grab some of the thorns. You are comforted by your parents. And then we get to the point where you'll be comforted right here by members of this church who care an awful lot for you. And now what I want you to do in terms of just the blessings that we all hope for you. Some of you are old enough to do this. We want to bless your eyes. Do we know where your eyes are? Can we bless your eyes? Know where your eyes are? Okay. The reason we want to bless your eyes is so that you can see just a beautiful world of peace and justice and beauty. And we also want to bless your nose. Everybody got a nose? And that is a nose so you can smell the beautiful fragrance of the world, that when you're out in nature, that you're able to fully breathe in and appreciate the forest, the wilderness, the pines. The world is full of just wonderful fragrances. And we also want to bless your mouths. Your mouth? And your mouth is so that you will be able to speak truth to justice. You will always be able to speak your mind, and that you'll always be able to express to those who are so close to you that you love them. That's a very important word, that you love them very much. And then your hands. You have hands? These hands are to be blessed so that you can work hard in this world and help people and give to people. And so these hands are very, very important. And also your legs. May your legs be very strong and carry you forth in this world. Carry you with tremendous pride for all that we hope that you are going to accomplish in this world. In closing, I want to say thank you very much, all of you, for joining us in this life. Not just in the church this morning, but for joining us in this life. And thank you for keeping the world forever young. May you receive abundant blessings of health, love, knowledge, and wisdom. And then when you've got all those fine things, give back. Give back richly to the common heritage that endures from generation to generation to generation. We want to thank you all. And you have certificates for this child dedication, and they are right over here. And before you go back, if you wouldn't mind just grabbing one that's got your name on it, and just grab a certificate. And thank you for being with us this morning. Yeah. We have a special musical treat, musical guests for this morning, and I want to thank very much Edward and Stephanie Neiman for being here this morning and for presenting a piece of music. Thank you.
piece was such a tease. Thank you. Yeah. Really, it's just we feel very fortunate to have Stephanie and Edward with us here this morning, and they come quite regularly. They introduced themselves to me about a year ago saying, yeah, we play a little piano, and handed me a card. And so we've been trying to take advantage of that. What you need to know, and this is really good news, is that following the service in our social hall, Edward has a CD available. And so you may want to stop by, and if you forgot your checkbook, that's okay. They have a little gizmo there where you can slide your credit card. And a portion of the sales will come back to First Unitarian Church, so everybody is happy. Please take a look at the announcements in your order of service, a couple of things that are really quite important. I want you to know, first of all, that tonight at 7 o'clock, the doors open at 6:30, there will be a play, very serious play, right here in the chapel, a wonderful performance. They had a dress rehearsal last night, and it just went exceedingly well. It's very powerful, and it is done by the Rocky Mountain Innocence Center. And more and more, the innocence centers around the world are coming to our attention. It's like learning a new word. Just yesterday, I was reading the paper, and there was another case of, after 30 years of imprisonment, the prison was finally exonerated through DNA and all that. And it's just amazing to contemplate what that means. And so the play called The Exonerated is powerful, and it will support the Rocky Mountain Innocence Center. Be here if you can. 6:30, curtain at 7 o'clock. Also want to spend just a brief moment about our pledge drive. It's always uncomfortable talking about fiscal things, especially as we gather in worship. But as our pledge drive draws to a close, there are a couple of things that might be worth saying because they really are educational. And I take a lot of responsibility for not really educating the congregation well enough and helping them be informed about what they should contribute to the church. Just some very basic things, and then of course I leave it up to you, especially for those who have not yet pledged. For those of you who have and may want to reconsider the pledge, we'll be happy to take a new pledge, a revised pledge from you, as long as it is going upward. That's the only kind of revised pledge we'll do. So perhaps what you need to know, again, simply as in terms of education, we have a budget to run this church of about $615,000. We have 250 families that make this possible. We would certainly like to have more. There's this myth that says, oh, good heavens, how can the few families here support this kind of a church? There must be money coming in from Boston. Not true. We send money to Boston. Maybe the district here sends us money of support. No, just the other way around. So we try to keep this church operating as best we can. The average pledge, and this is important information in terms of the education, the average pledge of the 250 families that do pledge is $1,800 for a year. The median is $1,200. So we have approximately 125 families that pledge above $1,200 a year and 125 families that pledge below 125 years. And I think it's important to consider because it is overwhelming just what it costs, what the operation expenses are. And just to take one very quick example, our music program, our religious education program, you combine them together and the cost is about $150,000 for the year. So if you wonder, what should I pledge? The answer is generously. And so we leave that up to you, obviously, to make the final determination. But please give it a good think. I think it's important that a church like this continues in the Salt Lake Valley. I think we bring a lot to the table and would certainly be helped by your generosity. Speaking of these things, the offering will now gratefully be received, a chance to greet one another and wish each other a very good morning. One of the things I enjoy most about being a grandpa is the patience I have acquired towards my grandchildren. The kind of patience I never knew as a parent. I'm actually amused when the little ones consistently and emphatically employ the word no. They do this as a way of finding their own voice and making their own choices. And I tell the frustrated parents that, my grandchild is merely individuating. Really? I don't care, they say. But come on, you guys, isn't it fascinating? No, not really. But I love observing how these little people try to define themselves at such an early age. What a struggle it is to get them dressed in the morning with appropriate attire for their day in preschool. They have other ideas about what to wear and how to express who they really are. And they always seem to do this when everyone is running a little late that morning. The kids have their own ideas about color coordination and what to wear when it's cold and rainy outside. Sometimes I receive a photo of one of them on my cell phone, scantily clad as a princess on a brisk January morning. And I say to myself, well, I guess my granddaughter won that battle. Good for her. If she needs to define herself that morning as a princess, then nothing and nobody is going to stop her. It's great. Just last week, our daughter told us how when they dropped the little one off at daycare, the daycare teacher said to the mom, well, looks like Lila is a bag lady today. And I feel that's great. Go, Lila. Go. We are defined by the choices we make. As our kids grow older, parents wield less and less control over the kids, over their environment, what they wear, the friends they choose, the music they listen to, and then they're out the door as young adults. And some of us know what that's like when suddenly, in the blink of an eye, no more little princess dressed all weird, but a grown woman is now in your presence. And the young parents this morning will one day come to understand what the poet Gerald Lachlan meant in his poem, No Longer a Teenager. My daughter, who turns 20 tomorrow, has become truly independent. She doesn't need her father to help her deal with the bureaucracies of schools, HMOs, insurance, the DMV. She's quite capable of handling landlords, bosses, and auto repair shops. Also, boyfriends and roommates. Also, her mother. Frankly, it's been a big relief. The teenage years were often stressful. Sometimes, though, I feel a little useless. But when she drove down from Northern California to visit us for a couple of days, she came through the door with the biggest, warmest hug in the world for me. And when we all went out for lunch, she said, affecting a little girl's voice, I'm going to sit next to my daddy. And she did, and slid over close to me so I could put my arm around her shoulder until the food arrived. I've been keeping busy since she's been gone, mainly with my teaching and writing, a little travel connected with both. But I realized now how long it had been since I had felt deep emotion. When she left, I said simply, I love you. And she replied quietly, I love you too. You know, it isn't always easy for a 20-year-old to say that, it isn't always easy for a father. Literature and opera are full of characters who die for love. I stay alive for her. So yes, our children define themselves early on, and then 20 years later, or whenever we catch a glimpse of who they are, how they developed, how they define themselves in the world, a very complicated world indeed. When we think back on our lives, we have a moment to do that. Don't we consider the choices that we made? I mean, so many choices. We're confronted with just billions all the time. You know, and what is it that made us choose this over that? Take this road instead of that road, go here instead of there. And we see that our lives are just, who we are. Really is an accumulation of the choices we made. But then I'm interested in finding out what guides the choices we make. How are our sensibilities? You say, well, yeah, I chose this because of that, because of those are my sensibilities. Well, how are those sensibilities even developed? How do we determine our loyalties? How do we find out what matters? Because before we make choices, we have to understand and be clear for ourselves what matters. And then we make our choices. And they're all kind of based in something that deals with our faith, with our values. And just a couple of weeks ago, I had a working lunch with our coming-of-age kids. These are junior high kids. And they are working on their faith statement, which they will share with you on May 1st. And so can you imagine 12, maybe 13 years old, thinking about what is it that I have faith in? Because it is what gives us faith, or what we have faith in, ultimately we decide what our choices are. And so we kind of looked at the whole spectrum of faith development. How at the very beginning, at a young age, everything is just so me-centered. I want this, I want that. And with a little bit of help as we grow older and the right kind of guidance and influence, we hopefully become a little less self-oriented and understand the larger complexities of the world as we grow older. And that the choices we make are no longer just about me, but they're really about others. Helping others, choices that help the earth, choices that help make this strifeful planet a better place to be. And so as we talk about loyalties to our values, we then understood, and of course one obvious example came up was Martin Luther King Jr., how he was so loyal to the values that he held so dearly, that he was actually willing to die for that which he believed in. He was willing to die for the values that he felt so closely. And so, and the kids also came out with a whole bunch of exemplary figures who had taken this very selfish, greedy attitude, which may have been the case when they were very little, to an expansion of being willing to die for what they believe in. And the value so strong that is what influenced the choices they made, choice after choice after choice, until they arrived where they are. It is really connected to faith, to religion. Theology itself offers us a larger perspective to help us understand what drives the choices that we ultimately make. And in order to get some clarity on this, I'd like to begin with Wendell Berry's very rich observation about our, in his words, insatiable desires for more. This is how he sees people, and I think we can understand and relate to that. What are we about? Well, we are people who have, by nature, insatiable desire for more. It drives us, he says. It drives the world. It stems, he says, it stems from a sense of incompleteness. We strive for more because somehow we feel incomplete. Well, the next step is obvious. We are defined by how we choose to fill this gnawing sense of incompleteness. These then are our questions. Do we choose to fill the void with superficialities or with substance? Do we fill our lives with our own self-gratification or with an awareness and concern for others and a concern for the earth as well, by extension? Do we fill our incompleteness with stuff or with meaning? And then conceivably, we would then be defined by what we perceive as meaningful. And then we make our decisions accordingly. We make choices by what ultimately it is that we find meaningful. But the starting point in all this is really theological at its base, be it orthodox doctrine or progressive thinking. The starting point in all of our decision-making and the choices we make, the starting point is love. Love. Didn't Pope Francis, just on Friday, raise this point again in issuing the joy of love? What a proclamation. Did everybody have a chance to read what the Pope said in the joy of love? Didn't he sound like a newly minted Unitarian minister when he said that? I mean, here's the Pope saying, listen to your hearts and to your conscience, not to these strict, silly rules of the church. Let the love guide you, not those restrictions imposed by the church. The Pope endorsed what is essentially two modes of being. One in the form of power, the other in the form of love. Power and love. We make life choices pretty much along that fault line, that axiom of power or love. In more familiar jargon, it breaks down to people either taking or people giving. When we think back on our choices, how do we color that? Are we taking more often than not? Are we giving because of love? Environmental issues, especially now what we face in the Uinta Basin here, makes this point abundantly clear. A lack of love for the natural world leads to destruction, while a life of love relates to creation, nurturing the environment. If our lives are driven by power, we make choices to fill our incompleteness with so-called treasures that we feel we must have, we must own, and so we just grab and consume for ourselves. And if our lives are driven by love, we make choices that are far removed from taking. And instead, according to theologian Henry Nouwen, the hands of love don't take or grasp or hold. The hands of love caress. The Trappist monk, Thomas Merton, who indeed his spirituality is rich and he's worked so much in Buddhism as well, he made it clear that love is not something that just happens to you. He says it's a certain way of being alive. And I love this, it's an intensification of life. And what's more, it offers you a sense of wholeness. So this emptiness that ostensibly we all have at the beginning, this emptiness is filled when we are guided by love. Now, one of the leading evolutionary biologists of our time, although he has now passed on, Stephen Jay Gould, he wrote that we cannot win this battle to save species and environments without foregoing without forging an emotional bond between ourselves and nature. We will not fight to save what we do not love. Isn't that amazing? How true is that? We will not fight to save what we do not love. And so the wilderness, for example, is vulnerable to our choices driven from a place of power, greed, I want it, or from a place of love. The great theologian Reinhold Niebuhr said that love is the law of life. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Love is the law of life, and when the law is broken, consequences are felt. Don't we know that to be true? This morning, our congregation, comprised of a delightful mix of generations, we have all dedicated ourselves to guide young lives in the pathways of love. And all the choices they will face in the course of their lifetime, we want to affirm that love is the law of life. As a church community, it is our responsibility to model for our children the hands of love. Rather than grasp power and take riches for ourselves, we need to caress the world and other people and all sentient beings. And finally, we dedicate our children in a religious community that emphasizes over and over again that love represents a certain way of being alive, and that we must make choices that complement and support this very basic understanding of how we ought to live. We have this self-definition a bit wrong, I think. It's a bit skewed. We think we're defined by jobs, the jobs we take. Not true. We're defined perhaps by our hobbies, no, or by the jokes we tell, or by the schools we attend. No, not at all. We are defined, ultimately, by our approach to the world. We are defined by how we feel, how we fill the sense of incompleteness. Do we fill this incompleteness with power? With love? There are so many choices before us. Let us hope that we can be models for our children and perhaps help ourselves as well, that we fill the void with love. So be it. Can we close our service turning our hymn books, please, to number 409. As we extinguish the chalice, may we close with these words by Hosea Ballou, a great 19th century circuit riding preacher. And his words are so relevant to us today, especially if we take a look at the presidential race and all the choices that we face right there. I love it when he says, if we agree in love, there is no disagreement that can do us any injury. But if we do not, no other agreement can do us any good. Let us endeavor to keep the unity of the Spirit in bonds of peace. Amen.
Short selection from my CD from the Rachmaninoff Ancient Tableau Opus 39, which is a set of pieces that Rachmaninoff, who was generally a